As a kid, I used to love the sea. I could spend the whole day splashing in the water until I'd get cold. Sometimes, I'd even stay in the water so long that my parents would have to go and get me out of the water. Upon getting me out, they'd find my lips completely blue and my lower jaw shaking. But I still want to go back and swim and splash around in the water some more. I live about half an hour away from the sea. The beach is very crowded, of course, but that's the most popular beach. That's why nowadays, I don't go there anymore. A couple of years back, by dull luck, I found another beach that is about an hour and a half long bus ride away from my place. I don't go there that often, but it sometimes feels very relaxing to go there. What makes it so perfect is that even on the most crowded days you won't see more than 10 people on the whole beach. Also, there's a small lighthouse that you can walk up to, which opens up a great sight of the sea. A year ago, right at the end of summer, I went there, just like I usually did, except at that time I'd fucked up my sleep regime, so I'd usually be waking up around 5 to 7 PM, so when I went to the beach it was already a bit late. But the sun was still shining, since it was summer and the weather was nice, so I had no excuse not to go. After arriving and taking my time swimming, I got hungry. I had some snacks and some beer with me, so I just took a stroll to the lighthouse and made myself a small picnic. It took about 20 minutes to arrive to the small lighthouse. The sun had started to set in, but it was still quite bright. Also, the fact that no one else was around was quite nice. So I just settled in and enjoyed the view whilst having my small picnic. Time flew by quite quickly. I haven't even noticed how the sun had almost gone away, as I was just sitting and daydreaming, instead of actually finishing my food and beer. After the sun completely set, a small storm came out of nowhere. Dark clouds, strong wind, and heavy rain started to pour out. The only way for me to try and avoid getting completely drenched is to stand close to the lighthouse on the opposite from which the wind was blowing. So I had to stand there, slowly getting soaking wet, to try and wait until this heavy rain stops pouring. All I did was just stand and watch far away into the sea and slowly drink my beer. After about 5 minutes, which felt like half an hour, I noticed something in the distance. Something was splashing in the sea. First I thought it was just some floating junk that some assholes just threw into the sea. But after a while, the object moved a bit closer, and upon properly fixating my sight on it, I got shocked and panicked. It seemed like the upper half of a person was stuck in the middle of the sea. I didn't know what to do. I panicked and started to think about what I could actually do. The person was too far away for me to just try and jump into the water and try and swim to them to try and save them. The weather also didn't help. I couldn't call for anyone for help, because I didn't have a cell phone with me that time. I was thinking of a logical solution for this situation, but I just couldn't come up with anything. At some point I got control of myself and looked for that person in the sea again. There was no one in the water anymore. At that point I started to panic even harder. I thought of rushing back to the nearest house and calling for help. I took a quick look back in the water and saw that person even closer to me than before. This time I could see them waving. At that point I thought the person was waving for help. At that point I was convinced I should rush back to the nearest house or nearest person I could find and ask them for help. But as I was about to, just after taking a few steps backwards, I started to hear a sweet melody in my ears, which momentarily calmed me down. All of a sudden, all worries left my mind and my body felt as if it was floating. I was conscious of everything I could hear, feel, and see, but I wasn't able to control myself, nor was I thinking about doing anything to gain back control. All I did was just stand there, soaking in the rain, listening to a very sweet melody that a female voice was humming. Slowly, my body turned around on its own. Once again, I was facing the sea. My eyes momentarily got fixated on the person in the sea, who once again got closer to me. The person was quite close this time, enough for me to tell it was female. I had no idea why, but all of a sudden my heart felt strange, as if I'd suddenly fallen in love, as if I'd found happiness in my life. The female was waving at me, as if calling me closer to her. Strangely enough, my body and my mind wanted to just go straight to her. So I started walking whilst listening to that sweet, sweet humming melody the female was humming for me. The female also was moving towards me, little by little. Upon her coming closer, I started to notice smaller detail. Her face was very pale and her arms were quite slim. She was very mesmerizing, so much that I couldn't look away from her, not one bit. At some point, I felt my heart starting to race like crazy. She'd completely enraptured me. All I could do was slowly move towards her and listen to her humming melody. But as fate had had it for me, I'd slipped and I'd fallen very hard against the rocky pavement, so hard that I even got knocked out for a little bit. After waking up, the first thing I noticed is that the weather had started to calm down. Then I remembered why I was in such a position, so I quickly lifted myself up and started to look into the sea. There was nobody there. In any case, upon looking around and confirming that there was no one in the water, I started to realise that I've gotten quite wet and was starting to feel really cold. So I hurriedly started to walk back to the bus stop and went back home. After arriving home, except for the headache and the obvious cold that I had gotten, I started to feel an uneasiness in my chest, which afterwards started to feel like pain, also accompanied by weird dreams and hallucinations. Sometimes, I would go to that beach, even in winter, without even noticing it myself, as if I was just sleepwalking to there and suddenly waking up halfway there. And even though I feel a bit uneasy every time I catch myself going there unconsciously, I feel very relaxed and at ease every time when I arrive there, as if someone's waiting there for me.